Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So thank you all very much for being here today. Today we'll be diving into the 14th chapter, or at least you can say continuing on with our exploration of chapter 14, which is titled The Three Modes of Material Nature. As you already perhaps know, we'll begin with text number 1. And then the verse for today is text 9. So, if you've been so kind to open up to chapter 14, text number 1, we will go around and start with the very first text. Please. Text 1, let's see here.
5, 6, 7 if you have a hot.
There it is. If you'd be so kind, read text number 1 for us.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Again I shall declare to you the supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, and on which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection."
Let's see here. Hold on, Terry, would you like to read text number 2? Or would you like for us to come right back to you?
By
Okay.
becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain in the transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution.
The total material substance
Thank
called
you.
Brahman is the source of all birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of God.
Chapter 14. It should be understood.
It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed given of Father.
In this verse, it is clearly explained that the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So text number 5. Oh no, you're perfectly
Material
fine.
nature consists of 3 modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, Almighty Arms Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes.
O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge.
Text 7. Would you like to read?
7. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires enlarging, O son of Kunti, and because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material, fruitive action.
O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul.
And that brings us to text number 9. I'll read the Sanskrit. Please repeat after me. Sattvam sukhe sanjayati.
Sattvam sukhe sanjayati.
Rajakarmani bharata.
Rajakarmani bharata.
Jnanam avritya tu tama.
Jnanam avyaktu tama.
Pramade sanjayatyuta.
Pramade sanjayatyuta.
Sattvam sukhe sanjayati.
Sattvam sukhe sanjayati.
Raja karmani bharata.
Rajakarmani bharata.
Jnanam avritya tu tama.
Jnanam avyaktu tama.
Pramade sanjayat. I don't know. Pramade sanjayatyuta.
Pramade sanjayatyuta.
Sattvam sukhe sanjayate. Raja karmani bharata. Jnanam avritya tu tama. Pramade sanjayachuta. Would anyone like to give it a try?
I will. Sattvam sanjayati.
Sattvam sukhe sanjayate.
Raja karmani bharata.
Raja karmani bharata.
Yanam avrita tu tama.
Jnanam avritya tu tama.
Pramade sanjayatyuta.
Pramade sanjayatutama.
Sattvam sukhe sanjayate.
Sattvam sukhe sanjayate.
Rajakamani bharata.
Raja karmani bharata.
Namavrityatu tama.
Jnanam avritya tu tama.
Made sajayat yuta.
Pramade sanjayatyama.
Sattvam sukhe sanjayati.
Sattvam sukhe sanjayate.
Raja karmani bharata.
Raja karmani bharata.
Jnanam adritya tu tama.
Jnanam avritya tu tama.
Pramade sanjaya uta.
Pramade sanjayachyata.
Sattvam sukhe sanjayati.
Sattvam sukhe sanjayate.
Raja karmani bharata.
Raja karmani bharata.
Jnanamarvitya tu tama.
Jnanam avritya tu tama.
Pramade sanjayatuta.
Pramade sanjayachyuta. Anyone else?
Sattvam sukhe sanjayati.
Sattvam sukhe sanjayate.
Raja karmani bharata.
Raja karmani bharata.
Jnanam adritya tu tama.
Jnanam avritya tu tama.
Pramade sanjayati uta.
Pramade sanjayachyuta.
Sattvam sukhe sanjayati.
Sattvam sukhe sanjayate.
Raja karmani bharata.
Raja karmani bharata.
Nayam aravati tuma tama.
Jnanam avritya tu tama.
Pramade sanjayati uta.
Pramade sanjayachyuta. Thank you. Would you like to do the one word at a time in his translation? Right there, Sattvam.
Okay.
And you just do one word and we'll repeat after you, okay?
Just read the whole thing, or just this one, like.
Yeah, so just do Sattvam and then we'll say Sattvam and
Okay,
then you
good.
say the mode of goodness and
Okay.
we'll say the mode of goodness.
Okay.
See that? So we,
whole
no,
paragraph?
yes,
Okay, gotcha.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Like, Sattvam. Alright. I can't undo that. Okay, Sattvam.
Sattvam,
The mode of goodness.
the mode of goodness.
Sukhe.
Sukhe,
In happiness.
in happiness.
Sanjayati.
Sanjayati,
Binds.
binds.
Raja.
Raja,
The mode of passion.
the mode of passion.
Karmani.
Karmani,
In fruitive activity.
in fruitive activity.
Bharata.
Bharata,
Bharata. Oh, son of Bharata.
O son of Bharata.
Janam.
Jnanam,
Wait, say it again. Yanam. I heard it.
Yeah.
I sang it.
Jnanam,
Yanam is knowledge, everybody.
knowledge.
Avartaya.
Avritya,
Avritya.
yes.
I'm wanting to say it in Spanish. It's messing with me.
Avrita, Avritya,
Covering.
covering.
Two.
But,
Tama.
tama,
The mode of ignorance.
the mode of ignorance.
Pramadi.
Pramade,
In madness.
in madness.
Sanjayati.
Sanjayati,
Binds.
binds.
Uta.
Uta, It is said. Danny, would you like to read the translation for us?
Okay. That's a person in the mode of goodness.
O son of Bharata.
Bold.
Okay.
Yes.
O son of Bharata, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness, passion conditions one to fruitive action, and ignorance covering one's knowledge binds one to madness.
And for the translation, purport. Can you please start with just 2 sentences and then we'll go around like so.
Yes. A person in the mode of goodness is satisfied by his work or intellectual pursuit, just as a philosopher, scientist, or educator may be engaged in a particular field of knowledge and may be satisfied in that way. A man in the mode of passion may be engaged in fruitive activity. He owns as much as he can and spends for good causes.
Sometimes he tries to open hospitals, give to charity institutions, etc. These are signs of one in the mode of passion.
And the mode of ignorance covers knowledge. In the mode of ignorance, whatever one does is good. Whatever one does is good neither for him nor for anyone.
I do believe there is the additional commentary. Yeah. Thank you. So I'll read the additional commentary. It comes from the Living Gita, a Bhagavad Gita for our time, because it's Prabhupada Priya Devi. In the commentary, she says, since the main function of the 3 modes is to bind us to material life, Krishna starts by saying how each mode binds us. The mode of goodness. Goodness has a good influence on us. It induces us to live a healthy life and to seek wisdom. It gives us clarity by which we can make choices which benefit ourselves and others. This naturally leads to knowledge, peace, and happiness. The problem is that with such a good material life, people in the mode of goodness often lack the impetus to take to spiritual life. Thinking they have it all figured out, they tend to become proud or complacent. While it's a fact that, compared to the quality of life in the modes of passion and ignorance, life in goodness is great, still, it's nothing but a tiny drop compared to the ocean of happiness attainable in spiritual life. The mode of passion. Passion fills us with material desires. It creates attachment to all kinds of mundane pleasures, from gross pleasures such as sex to subtle pleasures such as being honored by others. Our cravings for such pleasures push us to actively pursue them. We work hard to earn money, which we believe is the key to fulfilling our material desires. But because such work is done for selfish reasons, not for the pleasure of the Lord, it creates karma. That karma, along with our attachment to mundane situations, relationships, and things, keep us bound to the material world. The mode of ignorance. Ignorance is the default condition for the material world because it is due to ignorance of our actual position as eternal servants of Krishna, that we are here Let me read that one more time. Ignorance is the default condition for the material world because it is due to ignorance of our actual position as eternal servants of Krishna that we are here. Therefore, Krishna says it deludes all embodied souls. It dupes us into identifying with our material bodies, the country we are born in, our school, our favorite football team, and so on. How does it do that? By covering our true knowledge. One of the characteristics of the soul is that we have complete knowledge. So deep down, we know who we are. We know where we belong. And we know what we are meant to do. But the mode of ignorance has covered that knowledge. It has blinded us to it. The writing is on the wall, but we can't read it because it's covered by a dark curtain. Therefore, we come to believe that we're something that we're not. This is a kind of madness. If someone thinks he's Napoleon and goes around trying to wield power like a French emperor, he'll probably end up in a mental institution. Similarly, are acting as if we're material bodies by going around trying to satisfy our bodily urges is a madness which will keep us trapped in the material world.
Jugal, whose commentary is that?
This commentary is from Prabhupada Priya Devidasi, who is the disciple of His Grace, Hridayananda Swami Maharaj. Hridayananda Swami Maharaj's disciple is the one who had written the commentary for this.
I've heard of her, I just didn't know which book you were reading.
It is titled The Living Gita.
Thank you.
Om Ajnana Timrandasya Garanjana Salakhaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Shmaraya Krishna Sadhana Shmati Prabhupada Swami Gamani. Prabhupada says, Prasvita Chaprasu Divana Sarubha Varayate Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So again, before I begin, I just want to thank all of you very much so for being here. As you probably know, I don't speak much or give classes or anything of that nature. But it is only possible by the blessings of everyone. Mother Antaryami, and of course the Rijati, and of course from listeners like yourselves. It is only possible that we can actually speak and render some service. So I will try to share something, and I hope and pray that as I'm speaking, that I can also benefit myself. And of course, if I can say something that can be of benefit to all of you, I pray that it is of great fortune to all of you. As I was looking over this verse yesterday and of course today, in regards to these modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, and how they pull us in various different directions. They're referred to as three gunas. And sometimes we see that the word guna is defined as meaning rope. So we're being pulled either in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. But sometimes we're pulled in a direction that we don't want to go into, whether it is passion or maybe some ignorance. Sometimes we find ourselves doing something that we did not want to do. Maybe we have some setback, some fall down, where we do something that could have been a past behavior that we had. We're not understanding, well, why did I do that? Am I not supposed to be on a path that is leading me to not only being in the mode of goodness, but always in goodness, and possibly to attain pure mode of goodness? So how can, as a person, we can not become servants of our senses, but how can we take those reins and be able to become masters of our senses? One who is a servant of their senses is called a go dasa. The word go sometimes means, in Sanskrit, cow, also means senses. But one who becomes a master of the senses becomes a go swami. So how can we control these senses? We see in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asked Krishna, what causes one to perform and act as if against their own will? Krishna tells Arjuna, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is seated within the senses, the mind, and the intelligence. But later on in that conversation, we also hear how, in regards to the mind, it is also very difficult to control the mind. So it's almost like you can't win, because it's very difficult to control the mind. Krishna tells Arjuna, it's as difficult as trying to control the wind. Good luck, it seems. But again, Krishna telling Arjuna that it is lust only, seated within the senses, the mind, and intelligence. That if we can control the senses, and if we can control the intelligence, because the mind is in the middle, we can cut off the ammunition, we can cut off the food supply, and in that way, we can gain control over the mind. So, how to control the senses? You cannot stop the eyes from wanting to see. You cannot stop the ears from wanting to hear. We cannot even stop the tongue from wanting to taste. But if we can engage the senses in activities that are not of a mundane nature, but if we, and when I say mundane, meaning influenced by the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, but if we can engage the senses in activities that are free from, again, the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. In other words, when one engages the senses in devotional activities, such as on this board on the side here, one of them is Shravanam, hearing. When we engage the ears in hearing about the glories of Krishna, then the ears become purified. Kirtanam, chanting. When the tongue is engaged in chanting, like we were all chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra together, that purifies the tongue. But also, when we're taking prasadam, that also purifies the tongue, because such food stuff was offered to Krishna, And because it has become spiritualized, or you can say Krishnized, it too has a transcendental nature. And because we're always hearing and chanting, then naturally we start remembering. Because Krishna and his names are not different. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, he says, Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sharva Shaktis. In other words, all of his potency is there in his names. Krishna and his names are non-different. So when we're actually chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we are directly associating with Krishna face to face. It is this process by hearing and chanting that is recommended in this day and age where everyone is engaged in quarreling and hypocrisy. Again, these are just some examples of how to control the senses. Intelligence. When we're hearing from the self-realized souls, when we are even reading this Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, or any of the works, the Vedas, I should say, that transcend knowledge, then we're not relying solely on our own intelligence, because sometimes our own intelligence can get us into trouble. I'm sure we've had enough experiences of this. But when we hear from those self-realized souls, and let me be very clear, not just hear from any self-realized person, but to hear from someone whose heart is overflowing with love of Krishna. When we hear from those individuals, Narottam Das Thakur, a great saint, he says, Chaku Dam Nadilo Je, Jame Jame Prabhu Se, Divya Jnana Ride Prokashito. When we hear from such self-realized, so he says, he opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He opened my darkened eyes and fills my heart. So this darkness, where we're not able to understand and see things properly, but when we're able to hear from the self-realized souls, they're able to show us, point out to us, reveal everything to us in such a way. And not only just reveal it, but also be able to water that seed of love within the heart so that we can actually awaken and cultivate love for Krishna. Because if anyone is acting in a mode of goodness, even acting in a mode of goodness in itself is material. It is still in the mode of goodness. It may be more prominent, but if you're being pulled in the mode of goodness, it doesn't mean that passionate ignorance is not there. In chapter 7, text 14 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, he gives actually the secret in terms of how to actually overcome being pulled around by these modes of goodness and passionate ignorance. We see in different places actually, but in short, when one actually surrenders to Krishna, he says, in short, translation, when we give hearing and chanting a chance, isn't that a song that the Beatles sung, sounding similar to that? All we are saying is give Krishna a chance. All we are saying is give Krishna a chance. So if anything you remember, give Krishna a chance. So we have a little bit of time remaining. I will open it up for question and answer in a moment. But you have to forgive me. There's a bit of selfishness within me. Because in a couple of days, there is a very beautiful pastime that's taking place, titled, or it's called, Cleaning of the Gundicha Temple. So I'll share with you a very brief story. And then we'll open it up for a moment, okay? So this Gundicha Temple, this particular pastime, now before I actually dive into it, some of you were with me when I was narrating a story about Krishna and how Krishna, in a particular pastime called Pili Poka, where it was a yellow colored lake, but Krishna couldn't understand how did this lake turn yellow, but actually Srimati Radharani had turmeric on her hand because Mother Yashoda wanted her to marry Krishna, so she put it on Krishna's hand. Radharani takes and tries to wash her hands in this little lake, and it turns yellow, golden color. And how Krishna, who is the color of a monsoon cloud, Shama, blackish, darkest color, Sundar, because he's beautiful. He goes in and comes out as Gora Sundar. Krishna in the mood of Radharani. So if I was to say, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then you can understand. This is actually Krishna, but in the mood of Srimati Radharani. It is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God whom we're talking about here, and Srimati Radharani combined as one. And the mood is to give Krishna prema to every single one of us. So when we chant Hare Krishna, Radha Krishna, it's Gaur Sundar. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is before the chariot festival of Lord Jagannath. If you recall, in Dallas, did we even do it already? I think we already had the Rath Yatra already in Dallas, right? Yeah. You have to forgive me, time is flying by so fast. But the big main Rath Yatra celebration in Jagannath Puri is coming up in a few days.
Millions of people.
Millions. An ocean of people.
For thousands of years.
For thousands of years has been going on. So this cleansing of the Gundicha temple, understand and know that Krishna is seated within the hearts of all living entities as the Supreme, as the Paramatma, as the Super Soul. So he is there. But because we get pulled this way and that way, by the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, sometimes we're not always able to recognize and realize that Krishna is actually within the heart. So, just to give you a heads up, this Gundicha, consider it almost like the temple of the heart. And that there inside of a temple, there is a throne. And on that throne, sitting on the throne of your heart is Radha and Krishna. But we're not able to see it. So this is how beautiful the chanting of this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, they go to the Gundicha temple. And this small little temple just outside of Lord Jagannath's temple, they go there to marjanam. The Sanskrit word marjanam means to clean. They go there to clean the temple of the heart. And as you can imagine, any place that may be dirty, there may be sticks and straw strewn about, dust particles and so forth. So everyone is there. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arranges for everyone to get brooms to sweep the temple of the heart. Because the whole idea is to prepare the temple of the heart so that the Lord, who is really sitting there, reveals himself sitting there. So that Radha and Krishna reveal themselves. So they're there. They're sweeping. And they're collecting all the large pieces of sticks and straw and twigs and everything. Then they come back and they sweep again to get all of the dust. But they're not done yet. As they're sweeping and cleaning, they're all chanting. No one is having any other conversation saving except Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So they are taking big containers, clay pots, and 100 people are going down to the river to collect water and they're handing the pots to another 100 set of people who are taking those pots and they're throwing the water all inside that temple. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, he's taking the pots of water and he's throwing it up on the ceiling. And all that water is coming down the walls and helping to clean the walls. So they're not just cleaning only the floor, they're cleaning the ceiling. They're cleaning every nook and cranny. They're cleaning every crack in the floor. And they're taking pieces of cloth and they're mopping up everything. And they're cleaning everything so nice and so sweetly. But one thing that is really amazing about this story that I find to be really touching is that of all of the dirt collected by each individual, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pile of dirt is much larger than everyone else's pile of dirt. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself personally is going to every throne, every altar in everyone's heart, and with his tears coming from his own eyes, he is literally polishing and cleaning your heart. So when we're actually chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the Lord himself is actually coming to clean the heart, making it that much more suitable for the Lord to actually reveal himself to us. Every little step that we take, don't make me do it. Don't make me do it. Sometimes if someone knows your mood, it can be dangerous. In the words of the great philosopher Bobby Brown, every little step I take, Krishna will be there. Every little step I take.
I'm sorry, which saga was that?
Sir Bobby Brown. Okay, I'll give you another one.
Wait, what was that?
Bobby Brown, rock, R&B, or maybe we'll just bring it in a way where, in the words of the great philosopher Michael Jackson, just chant my name and I'll be there. I'll be there. You know, just look over your shoulder. Even though these love songs, we know these songs, but to what degree do we actually really realize it? It is actually true. When we're actually chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Krishna is actually there. So the moment when we feel, so let's bring it all home because I know we're running out of time shortly. You have to forgive me. I'd like to go over sometimes. But those moments when we feel as though we're being pulled in certain directions, when it seems like we're not able to win this battle, it seems like it's a struggle. Because keep in mind, sometimes we need certain struggles, certain challenges to help us see what it is that we need to work on. So sometimes we need certain challenges. Sometimes we need certain difficult moments. But the whole idea is that no matter what, if we can remember Krishna, even in those difficult times, the more we practice that at least. It may feel mechanical initially, but when there's love, things don't feel mechanical when you're in love, right? You just naturally do it. So we have to awaken that love. But it, again, in the beginning, it may feel mechanical, but it will get sweeter. So if we can try to incorporate as much chanting as possible, even if it's around the day, or even if you're just walking, you're just singing and chanting, no matter where you are, whatever you're doing, no matter the time of day, you can chant just a little bit more. Because the more we engage our mind and our senses in Krishna consciousness, then when those difficult times come up, there's a greater chances of remembering Krishna than for us to select the other options, because it's like multiple choice. Got the mode of goodness, option A, mode of goodness. Like, I'll give you an example. Road rage. Mode of goodness, option A. Maybe that person's having a bad day. I'll just keep on going. Option B, mode of passion. Well, you know what? I think I'll just allow myself to get worked up about it, you know. And of course, that's not good. Maybe option C, mode of ignorance. You know what? I'm from the west side of Detroit. This person don't know who I am. I'll flip them the bird. I'll be there. We got options. But if we are regularly hearing and chanting, then at least we can say, you know what? Let me pick option D, devotion. Let me remember Krishna. I don't know what that person's going through, but I'm just going to remember Krishna and let me chant through this so I don't find myself becoming entangled in that situation. Of course, that's just a simple example of road rage or driving on the street. But you all can understand that it can be applied in any circumstance, right? And of course, also at the same time, there's so many of us that have been around for some time. If you have some specific situation, we're here. You can call any of us. Let's talk it. Let's talk through it. Let's see how to look at something. And maybe we can come up with a game plan too. You know. So in other words, it's great to be in a group of devotees because you're not alone. We can always be here to support each other and always try to remind each other to live in that higher truth with that higher understanding than to go with option C and be in the mode of passion or ignorance like so. So I'll pause there. I do apologize for going over. Are there any thoughts or questions or anything that anyone wants, or even any realizations that anyone wants to share?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a beautiful, beautiful class. I love the story telling set up. It's lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
I would like to mention that japa, meditating on the holy names, is the most personal thing that we can do with Krishna, because when we're in class or in kirtan, we're all here, some of us are dancing, having a good time. But when you're in japa meditation, it's just you and Krishna.
Yeah.
And that is the most personal time you'll have. And as you advance in your meditation, it becomes very sweet. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Very good point. Thank you, Dujati.
I have, go ahead.
Tarikama, did you have your hand up, or were you just waving it like you just don't care?
I did have my hand up.
Okay.
You were speaking about the importance of the Sadhu Sangha. And I like to do, there's a lot of things that come up that we're starting to see modern science catch up with Vedic knowledge, right? And one of these prime examples is I just saw a clip that was speaking to, from a non-guru disciple relationship, a third party speaking to the vibrations that a guru has, right? And so the importance of being in their presence and hearing their Hari Katha is what we would call it, hearing them share. But they will actually, just by being in their presence, raise your vibration. So I'm sure most of you could understand or look back and think, when we've had Advaita Acharya or my guru or these other sadhus that have come in, the feeling of immense relief when you hear them share and things like this. This is actually scientifically proven that just by being in their association, the disciple, the person listening's body will mimic the output that the guru has. So this is just another important factor in the sadhu sangha.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And then, of course, you were going to...
Oh, those were great shares. When I feel like I have my japa beads in the car with me, and so when there's all four of us in the family and all of our energies combined, and I'm frustrated with my husband, and I want to go with option B or C, and grab my japa beads, and he just hears the humming, and he's like, because everybody yeah, she's done. She's done. I'm like, but it does, but it brings me back, and it's like when I want to go with those other, because I'm like, I'm stuck in the car with you to whatever destination. It's not like I can physically walk away, so I grab them, and the energy changes, for sure. True. But it also brings it in, and it does bring in Krishna, and like, I see him sweeping in the car. I see his like little sweeping going along, and I'm like opening the heart. So thank you for sharing. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
So you mentioned the having someone to talk to. As Trivikuram was mentioning, Sadhu Sangha, good association among yourself is very important. Because hopefully while you're having association, you're talking about Krishna or something positive, so that when you have a challenging situation, you don't go for the mode of passion, which is so easy because we can go through all the modes at one time. But if you have good association and you're focusing on Krishna, then something in the heart just say, like, just like you're saying, well, you don't know what type of day this person's had, so you go focus on the mode of goodness, and kind of bypass that anger that would ordinarily result, especially in traffic. Because it's like people have gone totally insane. So it's a good practice. It's a good practice, the holy name. Keep it constantly on your tongue and mind so that you can always reach for it and grab it in a challenging situation. Very important.
Very important. Thank you. Was there anyone else that wanted to share anything? Actually, before anyone says, Chirikama, Prabhu, is there anything that we can do to serve you?
Keep that cart down so y'all can start throwing some slap down.
Okay. We'll wrap up there. Is there anything from anyone else before we wrap up?
I was going to say one thing is that recognizing where we are in our spiritual life is really important. Because sometimes when we're around this kind of association, we sometimes we imitate the vibration, but we do it in a way that may not be sustainable. And I was communicating with somebody recently, and someone who in my experience with them, I felt was a very advanced or evolved kind of person spiritually. And I noticed how easily disturbed they were by something so small. And I recognized that it's easy for us we may be able to quote this, we may be able to show this much knowledge, but knowledge means nothing until you're actually faced with an experience that challenges how far you've advanced. And if you've not really advanced much, then something so small can distract you or disturb you and you want to leave. But if we recognize where we are, then it's easier to gradually grow than to artificially grow, because nothing artificial grows and sustains itself for a long period of time. So if we can recognize, okay, I may be primarily in the mode of ignorance right now, but let me at least graduate the passion, and then goodness, and then hopefully pure goodness. So recognizing where we are, not acting as if we're higher than what we are. Because for those who kind of know a little bit about this realm, they can tell when you're not serious, or they can tell when you're not what you portray yourself to be. So we must be honest where we are, and gradually try to advance for our well-being and for the well-being and environment of who we're around. So that was all the else.
Thank you all. Vancha Kapitarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuye Vicha